right. So, now for my first review. Very first album review. I'm choosing an album that I highly doubt most of you will know, and it's There Will Be No Super Slave by ghais guerva. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but whatever. It's a great album, and it's been one of my favorites that I've heard in the past month or two. I know it's quite old, like a few years old by now, and I'm a big fan of like JPEG Mafia, and like he reminds me a lot of him, especially with like his left leaning views and his aggressive delivery. Also, a lot of his sample flips I can tell are inspired by Peggy, but he has a unique vibe to him, and within the album, especially songs like Free Mirror and like Face Off, that's a great song, and I've he just has like this very unique style of a vocal delivery that's very like powerful, like almost like he's like very passionate about what he's talking about, obviously because it's a lot of it is very political, but while there's crazy aggressive songs, there's also songs that are very soft, such as what's it called, I think it's like Rayman Legends or something. Like I said in my intro video, guys, unscripted. I'm just like rambling on. But yeah, I think it's called Rayman Legends, and that song is like a love song, I guess you could say, because yeah, it's a love song, and it's very intimate, and it's also kind of like it has this like really like good nice vibe to it compared to the other songs that are all about you know more intense or political subjects, and he uses samples, like I said earlier, in like a very interesting way, with like lots of like samples that are being sped up, like songs that are sped up, like Face Off has like this pitched up sample where and then he just adds like a bass line and drums to it, and it goes so hard, and he spits really aggressively with lots of power within his voice, and it really gets his message across. And yeah, also there are a lot of really cool like little like spoken word or like speeches, like samples within the actual album itself that that add to it a lot, especially the political vibe. There's a lot of political speeches or phrases that are sampled within the actual album, in addition to his political lyricism, and it also like hits you, like I don't know how to explain it, but like the beats hit really hard a lot of the time, like more often than not. Like of course there are like a few duds on the album, but like not a few, like two songs that are not as good as the others, but they're still good songs, and they're sample based, all of them. But the beats just hit so hard. It's hard to explain. Like I remember the first time I heard Free Mirror, when though you have a spoken word intro, and like a sample, and then like the like strings just hit you so hard. Like they're so loud, the strings, and then the drums and the bass line kick in, and the man's just going at it like crazy, like with his lyrics. I think they're about like protests or like riots or whatever. Really intense stuff. And he uses great imagery within his lyrics. They're very well written, unlike a lot of artists nowadays, just in general, writing like boring ass lyrics or lyrics that do not hit or are unintelligent. This guy's very smart with his lyrics, and and he gets his message across, and you feel it. A few negatives of the album is the mix. The mix is quite terrible in my opinion. Um, as someone who does a bit of mixing himself, like, um, it's it's not a good mix. It's terrible actually, but it's also like a mixtape of sorts. Like it's a very or album, I guess. It's not like explicitly called a mixtape, but it's a low budget album. Like I don't think he spent a lot of cash on it, but it's like you can tell that like the mix was done by somebody who has no idea what they're doing. And another thing is that like some of the songs are just they just don't hit as hard as or they're more forgettable than like songs like Free Mirror or whatever. There's this one song on the album and it has a crazy ass beat switch. So he's talking about like academics and how like America and like the government and the system in general kind of wants you to like go to school and like go to university, but he's talking about like how like you shouldn't you may, it may not always be the best option to follow that path, which is interesting. And essentially and then halfway through the song there's a beat switch and it's literally just a Silk Sonic, Silk Sonic, the Bruno Mars um and the Anderson guy. Yeah, it's a sample from one of their songs and it's just sped up. And and then he like fucked around with the pitch a little bit and then he just raps over it. I don't even think like he added any like drums or like a bass in general to it. Absolutely wild. Anyway, aside from like a few other tracks like being like not that good and like having a terrible mix, um the album is just fantastic and I haven't heard many like hip hop releases like it. I'll give the album an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah. All right, I'll see you in the next one.